if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, they
Sure.
talk about like him sending the letters to get the
Yeah.
library,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they finally just gave in. Well, that was like me. I was like, when am I going to get a project? When am I going to get a project? So I ended up getting on a project in Miami Beach, which was like, it was not the most high end project that they had, but it was kind of like, all right, well, we'll try you out here. And I was put on it with two very seasoned agents, and I quickly outsold them, and I was the star sales agent on that team.
Wow. What a
That's how it
like what
started.
a That's an amazing story because number one, you were, approached somebody at an event where, you were the hired help. And then also, of course, working on your license at the same time, but just having the confidence to say to to someone there, like, I want to work with you. In some ways, I think that's like every employer's like fantasy situation where somebody's like that motivated, where even
Yeah,
in a scenario where it's not a real estate specific sort of meeting for you and him, you're still having the confidence to go like, I want this. And
yeah,
and so I'd love to say like, oh, I'm surprised that they would take a chance on you because of not having that particular background. But now that I think about it, it actually makes perfect sense because it wasn't a time where they would expect for somebody to come up who isn't yet in the industry and be like, I want to work with you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder how
definitely.
much of that just played in.
Yeah, I mean, and and even now, years later, 17 years later, and having this great
Yeah,
team and everything, agents are constantly approaching us to come work with
sure.
us. I mean, and we just brought on a guy a couple months ago. He was on me for a year to join the
Yeah.
team, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, sorry, wrong time. We're not looking for anybody. He was relentless, and I finally was like, Mike, I'm like, you got to give this guy a shot. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like this guy. He was an athlete. He keeps checking in with me. He wants to take me out for coffee. I'm like, we need this kind of tenacity in in the work, in the
Yeah.
agent side of things. And it's a quote I repeat to my team all the time: is how you do anything is how you do everything. So we
Yeah.
know that will correlate to how they will be as an agent.
I was trying to think. I know a bunch of college athletes that have become realtors. I mean, some of them I've had on the show who are now top of the mountain realtors, but even just people who are newer to the industry who have that background where they played some level of college sports, they always succeed in real estate. And it's like I've yet to meet somebody who I know for sure played some sort of sport and then failed at real estate. I haven't met those. I'm sure they exist, but
Yeah,
boy, there's something about that discipline and that
yeah,
just hard work and tenacity where they're kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna do the same effort I put into, my sport into this. And I mean, as well as I do, anyone who puts that kind of commitment in is almost guaranteed to be
yeah.
successful.
Yeah, no, totally. That's spot on. And even, just having a tolerance for discomfort,
Yeah.
whether that's just being in like uncomfortable positions, just like having to grind and, like, and sometimes do things that you don't want to do, like all that stuff just, keeps building character, and that ends up like, being the building blocks for, like,
Yeah.
at least for me, those were the building blocks of my success.
Yeah, mine too. This idea of learning how to tolerate discomfort. I mean, it's like you're a personal trainer. I just actually came from the personal trainer just before this, and it's
Nice.
all
Show
about
me,
it's
show
all.
me your bicep.
No, I won't. I won't. But I'm too meek or just embarrassed to do that. But it is wild because I'm almost 3 years in, and I never had that level of commitment to working out. I just didn't my whole life. And so I'm like, I got to get a trainer. And
Yeah,
I will tell you that it's still not fun because it's pain. I mean, it's painful, but it is taught me how to tolerate discomfort physically, that
yeah,
physical discomfort of like, this is going to be painful and there's a huge benefit to doing it. And if I can just go, well, the benefit is going to outweigh whatever the short-term pain is. And it doesn't mean everyone needs to start like lifting heavy weights, but the idea of getting comfortable with whatever, with a physical discomfort or mental discomfort or whatever it is so critical for being successful, because this is a business that really can knock you down pretty fast and pretty hard. I mean, all it takes is, you find out your best friend went with a different realtor, or you lose a deal for whatever reason. It's not your fault.
yeah.
It's
And,
easy. It's
and
easy
we
to get
all do.
discouraged. Of
We all do.
course.
There's all kinds of roadblocks, you know, near big deals that just didn't happen, and it's really tough at the time, especially when you haven't kind of crossed over that kind of luxury or that level of success, and you're just trying to find your way to clawing through, and you miss those deals, and it's tough, but it does build character, and that's that's the stuff I lean on now in my success.
Yeah, it's I think resiliency is just like
Yeah.
the name of the game with this one. It's just you're gonna get knocked down constantly and just this idea of like it's all gonna work out. I'm just gonna keep at it and it usually is a lot of that. It's
Yeah.
perseverance, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm probably speaking for the audience here because and they I think they understand that your story starts with you sort of having this opportunity in a sense that you jumped on when you were
Yeah.
not in the industry at that moment. But for anyone that is in the industry right now, and I think I'd have an idea of what you're going to say, but I don't want to say it for you because I might be wrong. But I'm curious, and if anyone listening is going, I want to be to be chosen to work some any kind of developer does. Maybe it's luxury, maybe it isn't, but I would like to be chosen to represent a developer in some of these transactions. I know here in Chicago, that is like, it is, and there's pros and cons to being chosen too. I
Yeah.
know it's not all wine and roses, but it is certainly something that people aspire to, at least the option of being chosen. So I'm
Hmm.
curious what you would suggest to somebody who wants to start taking steps to get the eye of developers.
Um, there is a little bit of a difference from when I started in, basically 2006 to now. When I got into the business, there were agents that literally did nothing but work on developments.
Sure.
And I had a friend who worked on a project with me, and he basically said it this way: you have house cats and you have street cats. And he's like, I'm a house cat. He's like, I'm never going to be a street cat. And obviously I was a house cat at the time. Now I'm a street cat, but so it's like, they were two very distinct groups. Now we've got these indoor outdoor cats.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of the best developers, the top developments, they want seasoned agents that are actually out there in the street, mixing and mingling with top clients, from
Sure.
here and around the world, and also, socializing with all the other top agents so that they can mix with those agents and have those agents bring their clients in. So it's an even more coveted and harder spot to get. But I would say two ways. One, find like an entry level kind of project. It might even be, working for like Coulter Homes. You have some sales experience, you got your license, like be willing to sell way out in the burbs and just like, selling just blocks of homes,
Yeah.
or some kind of real estate. That would be kind of like one way, and then you just work your way up. Be
Sure.
the absolute best in every one of those situations,
Yeah.
and you'll plot your own course. The other one is the team route, and I would say get yourself on a team. You know, because I say the three keys to mastery are immersion, modeling, and repetition. So if you're in a team and you're now immersing yourself, and there should be other stuff with that, but you're doing that. You've got the leaders, the other people on the team. You're modeling after, and then you just keep repeating. Then that's going to build the backbone of kind of the substance that developers are going to look for, and then you'll start having some of the sales experience. You'll start having some of you'll know some of the talk. You can talk the talk, and I think you'll have put together a database and all those kind of variables that developers look for, and you might get a little bit of a leg up and be able to skip over Coulter Homes and go right into working a lower Miami project.
Yeah, that really makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think I agree with all of that, and I also think too, like I don't want to minimize how hard it is for you to do that even today because it's not. like once you're in, because you have to perform and deliver every single time. And the stakes are really high for you because there's a line of agents, gosh, a mile long, that would love to take your spot on some of those development deals. And you're in an ultra competitive market. In fact, you could argue Miami might be the number one real estate market in the world or in the country, as far as amount of dollars that sort of exchange hands.
Yeah.
And
And the most
and what
resilient too, I must say.
Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah. It's like this time of year. I always think, Florida's, there's a lot of benefits to,
Yeah.
tax wise. And obviously,
There's a lot going for Miami. Miami
yeah.
is just transforming so rapidly. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I was there about 2 years ago. I hadn't been to Miami in that time, and was not staying down on South Beach, and just love what's been done down there. So that's, I think that's really helpful advice. It's all the same things that I think I've heard from other agents on the show, but I don't think that means repetition, as you said, one of the three components. It's the mother of skill. It's doing the same
That's the
things.
mother of mastery. It
Yeah, it is, I think. And
is.
so this idea of just putting the blinders on and going for it, and developing skills. I think you're right. When you play at that level, the skill is really, really important. And skills can be honed and sharpened, right? So it's this
Yeah.
idea of just working at it. Let's talk about the relationships, because you have a really, when you work with developers, like, that's a really difficult thing, because you're serving many masters. Really, you're obviously keeping the developers happy, trying to sell at the rate that they want, with the pricing that they want, also dealing with other realtors, dealing with buyers, and all sorts of factors. So I know it does not mean that it's an easy job at all, working on developments or with developers. But I'm curious on, sort of, as your team has continued to grow, where do you find the most joy? Do you like working with, with developers, with the public, with both? I'm curious on what's like your favorite thing.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I was a house cat, and then I moved out onto the street, and I'm 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 actually happier being a street cat. I like being out
Yeah.
there in the world. I like mixing and mingling, and I don't like being kind of just like too, not, I would say stuck, but just like just too focused on one project, because
Yeah.
Miami is so dynamic and so versatile, and there's so many great real estate opportunities that I love selling everything. So right now, my, like, what I prefer to do, I want to work with people. I just love working with great people. Um, like, when I first started in membership sales, for a gym, it was a different kind of sales. It was like using techniques,
Sure.
closing techniques, and I remember the first time I used a closing technique to close somebody, and they bought a membership, and then I realized, like, they weren't coming in, and like, that I basically sold them. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't feel good about it.
Hmm.
What I do now is relationship sales. Like, first, I'm selling me. Like, if you want to work with me, like, here's all the reasons why, because I'm going to be your trusted resource. I'm a property matchmaker. I'm going to put you with the most amazing property. Um, but I I want to become their friend. I mean, because I truly and deeply care about them, and that's what gives me the satisfaction, because I know in the end I've helped put them and their family in a place where they're going to have the best lifestyle, like the best
Yeah.
lifestyle that's going to match their needs. So that's what really, like, turns my crank, so to speak.
Yeah, that's your why.
Yeah.
You like giving you, there's a lot of satisfaction in that. And um so I'm curious, because you're talking about wanting to become, friends, and develop these sort of intimate relationships with clients, and really continue to deepen them, so that, they continue to, obviously be part of your life. I'm curious. I'm always curious on what what are you doing, or what do you recommend doing in between sales with a client, so that, you just sold somebody a home, they moved in, it's their dream home, it might be their forever home, or at least their for a while home. What are you doing so that, to make sure that they don't forget about you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in? Just, I always think, this is a huge opportunity, and probably something that a lot of agents struggle with. It's like, okay, transaction over, I know I should stay in touch, I'm not exactly sure how often and what to do.
Yeah. Great point. I think that's vital because you don't want to be a one pump chump. Um, you want, not only just, do you want that repeat business, but you want them to tell their friends and their family, and you just, I don't know, for me, I want to know how they're doing down the road. So
Yeah.
I think it's, part systems. Like you got to have systems in place. That's, your CRM. You got to have your CRM working. Um, for me, delegating, like when I started really delegating and spending money on delegating, that was hugely transformative. Having assistants helping you do stuff, and they help us with follow up in a major way, whether it's emails, text messages, sending gifts, sending letters. So that's kind of the whole kit and caboodle. Is that, like, we're sending them gifts on their birthday, we're sending them cards, we're calling them, we're checking in, every couple of weeks, just saying hello. How are they enjoying their place? Did they hear about this thing that's going on? We send them articles. Oh, the top 10 restaurants in Miami. We text it over to them, or we have our assistants text over to them. So we're just, constantly trying to be, I would say we're trying to be like an internal resource as well.
That is such a, it's so funny. This top 10, this top restaurants thing, it sounds so simple. And yet, in all of the interviews I've had over all of the years, I don't think anyone specifically gave that particular tip. And I just realized, as you were saying it, what a brilliant tip it is, because you can just make it neighborhood specific to wherever they live. And this is really an endless amount of content. I mean, you could say, you could do restaurant of the week, or you could do top 3 restaurants, or whatever, however you want to do it. But
Yeah.
that is such an easy way to create content that's actually valuable to the people that live in those communities. And in a way that's not, hey, I'm looking for another sale, or, send me the names of some of your friends, which of course I'm not criticizing people who do it that way either.
Yeah.
That's just a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah.
It's not my particular approach, but I
Yeah.
understand that some people it is.
Sure.
But
Sure.
if,
Sure.
for people that are like, I don't want to I don't really want to bother people, it's like, well, then send them things of value. And that is a great example of
Totally.
something that, and you could do it with your sphere of influence. You could, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that much work.
It's
But
not. It's not.
I would love it if every week I received an email in the neighborhood I live, which is Wicker Park, and which has got hundreds of restaurants. I mean, we just have so
Yeah.
many restaurants,
Yeah.
and it can be overwhelming. And I live in the middle of it, and I'm like, God, I would love for somebody just to be like, this is the place you should go this weekend. And I mean, I really
Right?
would. And
Makes it easy. Like
and
you get that on a Friday, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out tonight or tomorrow night.
it's
Like, oh, top 10,
yep,
like this
yep.
place. Let's see. Oh, that's the food I want. Boom.
I know it sounds silly, but it is, like, again, that's, as, and I'm not a practicing agent. I'm licensed, but I don't practice. So, like, I am somebody who might be in your database. I'm like a person that is like in your database. There's a lot of people like me. They want to know, and they don't always necessarily, I think people who own homes are always interested in, I wonder what my home's worth. But
Yeah.
aside from that, I think a lot of the communication can just be like, hey, how's it going? What are you up to? What are you, and I imagine you do a lot of that.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. All the time. I mean, I gorge on all things Miami. Like I'm just, you
Yeah.
can tell I light up when I talk about the city. The city is my second love, so I love sharing things about the city. And when I learn about, oh, this new rooftop restaurant is coming to Coconut Grove, I'm like taking the link and I'm texting it out to all my clients who bought in Coconut Grove, like,
Yeah.
and it's just it's really like a natural thing for me, and it obviously it perpetuates the relationship, for years to come.
I want to talk about delegating, because you mentioned that was really a game changer for you when you started investing in hiring, or just getting some of the things off your plate that maybe weren't the things you really preferred to do, or maybe they weren't business
Yeah.
building things, but things that
Yeah.
needed to get done.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on, there's a lot of people out there listening who are going, I would love to delegate some of my work. How do you figure out what you want to delegate and what you want to keep for yourself?
hmm I think it's pretty easy. What do you tend to procrastinate on? What do you avoid doing?
Yeah.
Delegate that shit. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Mike and I joined partners. We became partners, and you know, the first year is like you're not closing like crazy amounts of deals, and money is a little bit tighter, and it's like, we were at that point where we were kind of like overflowing, like trying to be jacks of all trades, writing contracts, doing follow up, writing listings, like chasing our commissions. I mean, it was fucking hard. I'm sorry, I'm
Sure.
swearing.
No, you can swear. It's fine.
It was hard. It was hard and overwhelming, and it took away from my ability to perform at what I'm best at, which
Yeah.
is working with people and closing deals. Like,
Yeah.
I love working with people. I love selling the best of the best real estate in Miami. I love going to the projects, talking to the agents, talking to the developers. I don't love working on contracts. I
Sure.
don't love the minutia of like, the of scheduling the inspections and being there at the inspection. Like, I don't want to do that stuff. So once I realized that for myself, Mike and I had a good conversation. He was on board, and we decided, like, let's spend some money and hire somebody to do this shit. And
Hmm.
let me tell you, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
If you have not hired somebody to take the load off of you from the stuff you don't like doing or don't have the time to do, go out and hire somebody. Start with a virtual admin. If you
Yeah.
don't have the budget to go full time somebody in person, get a virtual admin. Like, it will
Yeah.
be a huge game changer for people.
And really affordable. I mean, you can, depending on the skill level, I mean, you can find people as low as, I don't know, $5 an hour, maybe even less. Now,
Yep.
obviously, it's not so much about wanting to spend the least amount of money, but if that's your budget, you can find people that'll do it.
Yeah.
And so, places like Upwork.com are great resources where you can go post an ad. People from all over the world will vie for your business, and you'll have to figure out who you want to hire. But yeah, I that's a great option. So for anyone out there that's like, I can't afford to have a full-time assistant, maybe you could
You
get a
can't afford
part-time
not to.
virtual. Yeah, well,
You
you're
can't
right.
afford not
uh,
to. I'm telling you,
y-
game
y-
changer.
and we should also honor the fact that probably when you guys were ready to make that financial commitment initially, was that an uncomfortable moment? Like, oh my gosh, was it a time where you were like, it wasn't, it was easy for you?
No, no, no. It was totally
Oh, it's
like
hard.
to start spending like our own money that we were getting, and like, as a real estate agent, you're like, you never really know exactly when the next check
Sure.
is coming, or maybe you know when the next one is, but not the one after that. And so that's uncomfortable, and
Brutal.
but it's necessary, man. It's so
Yeah. Yeah.
necessary.
It's again, it's this idea of betting on yourself and going like, no,
Yeah.
this will work out. It might be uncomfortable for a while because I'm spending money. And yeah, there's going to be times of like, I got to train and build systems and all of those things. Yes. So
Yes.
you just got to push through that discomfort and realize like, oh, top agents aren't doing everything. They're just doing what they love and what they're best at and what's the cornerstone
100%.
activities. Yeah. Uh,
100%.
Um, back to relationships for a moment. So, you just gave a lot of great examples of providing value, in between transactions, staying in touch with clients, giving them something that they can use on a regular basis, making sure they don't feel neglected, whether it's just reaching out and how's it going? Saw you went on vacation, tell me about it kind of thing versus, hey, here's like some cool real estate info, or here's some, community info. How important is it to be really immersed in the community first? So we all know real estate is usually hyper local. For most agents work, locally. How important is it to be known in the community, and not so much to be like a public figure, but just somebody that's in the community and supportive of the community? I imagine you guys are, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's twofold to that, twofold answer. One, like, I know agents that have picked up and left one market, plopped themselves into another market, and found it immediate success. So there are ways to do that, and they clearly were not immersed in in the world, so to speak,
Sure.
of that city yet. Um, it's clearly beneficial for us to be immersed in all the things Miami. I mean, and in volunteering. Like as you mentioned, like I'm a big brother in Big Brothers Big Sisters. We do a lot of donations to some of the various big charities in Miami. Um, Lotus House is one that we did we got a table for, and we invited people, and we mix and mingle. So it's good for people to see that we're not just about the money. We're also about the community, and we get out and about, and we go to the chamber every now and again, and all that stuff. I think it's important. It also kind of depends on who your client base is. For people that like if someone on my team was focused on getting single family home listings in X community, I'd be like, you need to start living in that community.
Yeah.
Like you need to start going to the weekly moms events, or you need to like start getting plugged into the schools and going to the art fair. Like you got to start digging yourself into that. And like Mike and I, we deal with mostly I would say Northeasterners is a big portion of our clientele. Northeasterners, people from Chicago, California, a lot of tax flight, some Canadians,
Sure.
some Europeans, and some South Americans. We actually, him and I specifically, don't have a huge amount of like local clients. So for us, it's almost more important for us to be out and about in the world. So
Yeah.
so we're traveling to Europe in the summer. Trying to go to the Hamptons, or going into New York City a lot.
No
I
kidding. Well, that
I'm
makes
from
sense.
I'm from
Yeah.
Connecticut, so I go home to Connecticut a couple times a year.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how we kind of get out in the bigger community, so to speak.
That's so interesting. So you travel to where the potential customers are, and
Yeah.
where they are today, and where they might be obviously in the future is Miami. Boy,
Yep.
that makes perfect sense. I've yet to hear anybody talk about that specifically, about leaving geographically so that you can get in front of potential buyers, or
Yeah.
sellers even.
I had a prospect that I had been in touch with over the phone only, and he was from Atlanta. The Compass ended up having the Compass retreat in Atlanta. So
Yeah.
I looked him up and I said, "Hey, what are you doing? I'd love to, take you out for coffee." He said, "No, come over to my house." So he invited me over his house, which was this freaking giant mansion in like one of the most, wealthy areas of Atlanta. And we just like totally hit it off. And him brought his wife over. They started pouring me whiskey. I was like, oh my God. But it was great because like, I know as soon as they come to Miami, we're going out, and I've cemented that relationship.
In the same vein, I'd love to hear your perspective of the importance of building strong relationships with other realtors, whether they're in your local market and the people will be on maybe one side of a deal with, against the other, working together to close it, or even realtors from other markets who might be referring clients in. How critical is it for you to have strong relationships with other agents?
Yeah, I mean, it's super critical. I think really for every agent. I know some agents that 75% of their business is referrals from other agents. That's not us, but it's actually something we're working on growing. We actually have, we've kind of put the structure in place to really work on growing our referral network. We're looking for great partners out there, but that's why we went to Atlanta. Jessica Betas, who runs our team, she's going to Boston this weekend to meet with agents. She was in New York meeting with agents. Mike was in New York meeting with agents. Hadar Michael on our team was meeting with agents in New York. So this is really like a big initiative of ours to get out there and meet lots of agents from the various feeder markets, around the country, but really even around the world, because Toronto, London, there's other feeder markets, but even just within Miami, it's very important, I think, to be well liked, to be thought of as somebody who's likable and easy to work with, because
Yeah.
I know from like my side, when I'm going to show listings and I'm like looking at who the agents are, like there's occasionally going to be an agent where I go, ooh, like,
And you never want to be on that end of it. You don't want to be on that end
exactly.
where somebody looks at
I
your
don't want
name
to
and
be that
goes,
guy.
"Oh no."
Like I'm like this person, they do this, they do that. Like, X tried to steal my client once,
Yeah, they're a problem.
or they just don't shut up. They just talk. The client's like overwhelmed. I'm like, there's a few of them out there, and my advice is don't be that person.
There's a way Adam Carolla used to talk about. He goes, "You never want to be." It was like a life advice thing, and he was saying, "You never want to be the guy that when your name comes up on the caller ID to someone else, they go, oh God." and,
Well,
and
totally.
that is a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I get calls from other agents. They're just asking for like help. Like, hey, I saw you closed this unit in this building. I have a client who's thinking about buying the same unit 2 floors up. Can you give me some insight? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, I want to be
Yeah,
helpful because, when the shoe is on the other foot, like maybe I'll need
totally.
them. And the vast majority of agents, not saying the vast majority, a lot of agents can't be bothered. You know,
Sure.
they even a lot of them have just bad etiquette. They don't answer the phone. I'm like, Miami, for as glamorous and wealthy as a city as it is, I really don't think it's the hardest city to become successful in, because you just have to do this much more to set yourself above the people that are doing the bare minimum.
I agree. And you just said something very powerful that I want to make kind of like step on a little bit, because it's so, you just said something actually quite brilliant, I think, which was, if you are selling, this particularly applies to condo sales. This idea that if you're about to list a condo in a building that you haven't listed in before, take a look at the closed listings, and not just for the data, but actually go, hey, maybe I'll reach out to a couple agents that just closed a deal here and just be like, hey, is there anything I need to know? I know you've had success in this building. I'm sorry to bug you, but I'd really love to get any advice that you might have. And first of all, that's super flattering to get a
It's
call like that.
super flattering. Like I was like, it just happened to me last week, and I was like, I was just like more
Were you
than
kind of
happy to
blown away
share
that
every.
somebody
I
thought to
was
do
more
that?
than happy, yeah, because I was like, oh, like this guy's like looking up to me, and he's
Yeah.
leaning on me for help, and I was like, this is this, and I was completely transparent about the deal, and he was like beyond thankful, because like he didn't know that the deal included the boat slip and what that equated to on a dollar level, so it was great.
Yeah, this idea of, I mean, I know you guys weren't on opposite ends of the transaction, but even when that happens, it's still a cooperative commission, right? It's still supposed to be cooperative. And so I think agents sometimes forget about that when it's just a random agent and at a different, maybe they closed a deal a week before and you're like, I don't want to bother them. They don't know me. I don't know them. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I think and if they don't call you back, it's no big deal, but at least you made the effort. And again, I think that idea of, you know, agents who are successful, in my experience, and of course there's exceptions to this, but almost all the time that I've dealt with agents who are top producers, they tend to be super generous and
Yeah.
super friendly, and they get it. Everyone's got to start somewhere. They remember what it was like, and it's appreciative when somebody calls them and says, hey, I'd love to get some
Yeah.
advice.
Totally. I besides all this other stuff, and seeing my clients happy, like the other thing, I get tremendous satisfaction out of helping other people, and like helping other people to avoid some of the pitfalls and hurdles that I had to go through. And I also say to my team members, like, if your experience on my team, through your experience on my team, if you don't end up becoming a better person than you were when you got here, then I failed. So like I really, hold myself up to be a contribution to everybody, and to make sure that they leave a better person, a better professional than when they got here.
I wonder how many of our listeners right now, having just heard you say that, are thinking, I would love it if my team lead or my managing broker or whoever is sort of in charge of me as an agent said, I want everybody here to become a better human being. And my job is to help you become a better human being, not just become successful at real estate. I want to help, that is a really powerful thing that you said. And I want to honor that, because I don't know that every team lead or managing broker has that same philosophy. It's certainly a tremendous responsibility that you're taking on, and one that you take very seriously. And so I think it's a great place to mention
Yeah.
that if somebody is a realtor in the Miami-Dade area, and you're looking to maybe see what other options exist, and you think you might be a fit for the Ivan and Mike team. And again, remember, it might take some time, because these guys want to see a level of commitment and dedication, but you got to start somewhere.
It's true.
If somebody was wanting to consider working on your team, with your team, providing some value to your team, tell me, like, what are you looking for in an agent, and how could they get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not looking for green agents, green as in inexperience. That doesn't mean it's an absolute no. Nothing is ever an absolute no. This last gentleman we brought on, he was green, and that's why it was a no for now, which is also, people should be taking notes as far as sales go. No is only no for now. But it was a no at the time. It became a yes because he was tenacious enough. But right out of the gates, we're looking for people that are a little bit more seasoned, you know, listing specialists. Somebody that can go out there and get single family home listings, that can go out there and kind of kill their own prey. Not just that they're not just going to sit back and wait for us to
They're not
feed
just
them.
feeding off of the
Nah,
team. Yeah.
we're not looking for that,
Yeah.
but we're looking for people that want to be part of a team, and want to be part of a special team, a team that's not just about the numbers, and just about Gucci belts and parties on South Beach on Friday. Like, we're about personal development. We're about giving back to our community, and we really feel like we're a family. So if you're about that jam, cool. If that's not your jam, that's cool too. Just, we're not the fit for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. And people, if they want to, if anyone out there wants to reach out to the Ivan and Mike team, you can go to ivanandmike.com. We'll have a link to that in the show notes, or hit them up on Instagram or Facebook. On Instagram, they're only Miami Luxury. I have one last question for you, because it's kind of a funny thing. I get a little nervous asking it, because I'm always afraid somebody's going to chastise me for bringing up something that might be a bit negative. No. I think it's realistic, and I'm just curious to get your takes. I think 2023 is going to be a really tough year for agents. I don't think I'm going on a limb by saying that. But there's some people that just like to see the positive side of everything, and they're like, it's going to be fine. We have almost 800 agents in our company. Well, that's good. No, that's good, because I want to hear that perspective, because for me, we have about 800 agents here at our company, and I'm terrified, because I'm like, oh my God, rates are up, inventory's down. This is going to be tough. What are you doing to stay positive and also stay productive, despite the fact that there are definitely challenges right now that didn't maybe exist a couple years ago?
Okay, so where attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you're constantly focused on the sensationalism that's out there about, housing
No, it's
bubble,
fine. Yeah. Yeah.
collapse,
Rates.
you
Yeah.
know, the housing market is blah blah is this, and I'm like, you know what? It's noise. It's just noise. I'm always reading between the lines. I'm looking at the market. I got my boots on the ground here in Miami. We're very low inventory. So you know what? I'm focused on the fact that, like, I know what the reality is, and I'm focused on the fact that there are still great opportunities out there. So I truly believe there are opportunities out there for people, and I truly believe there are great products out there for people to buy, and that's why I just did 25 million this past weekend and 3 deals. Three deals.
Unbelievable.
Three
Yeah.
three deals. I was out of the country. I did 25 million. And I'm not trying to like say I'm like, this
No,
like
you're not. You're not
insane
bragging. You're just
superstar.
reporting. You're
I
saying,
just like
yeah,
I stay positive. I listen. I get up in the morning. I listen to meditation. I have affirmations. Like I am standing gate at the guard. I am standing guard at the gate of my mind.
that's
You know,
smart.
and I just can't let the crap come in. That's just noise.
Yeah, it's but you said something very important. You said, I know the reality. It's not like I'm Pollyanna. I'm not paying attention. I don't actually know what's going on. No, I know what's going on, which is why I'm choosing to focus my energy in things that will actually help drive my business, because you can't control inventory or rates, but you can find opportunity
Yeah,
within those things. But if you're right, if your mind is being entertained by information that isn't particularly helpful to actually creating a plan, then it becomes like just consumerism. I'm just taking in information and it's gonna bum me out because of course
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
And it's not like you're not strong enough to push it away. It's just human nature to, when you
yeah,
absorb things, to sort of react to them. And so, you said something really important. It's like you can pay attention and you can not pay too much attention so that
yeah.
you're immobilized.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're not trying to be like a car salesman. Like nobody wants that. Like, and all of our buyers are sophisticated, right? They're seeing all the headlines out there, and I can't be like, no, don't read those, don't listen to any of that. It's all fucking crap. Like there's there's some truth in that too. It's
Of
just
course.
like, let me understand you and what your needs are, what fits your lifestyle. Let me present some options, and then let me go to work and negotiate you a freaking hell of a deal.
Yeah. I love it. I think again, mindset. We're talking about focusing our energy in a way that is actually going to help us continue in our business despite whatever challenges are before us. Because there's always challenges, even and let's remember
Always.
too, everyone, low interest rate environment, the 3% days. That was not a lot of fun if you were working with buyers. It was a lot of fun if you had a lot of listings, but if you were working with
Totally.
buyers, oh my, like let's not forget that
Oh
yes,
yeah.
your buyers who got homes were thrilled. There's a lot of unhappy people though that didn't get
Totally.
what they wanted or who paid, X amount over
Yeah.
what they probably should have because that was the condition. So,
I'm so glad the days of multiple offers are like almost over. Like
yeah.
that was stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I love that. I love that you said all this because that just reminded me that yes, things are different now, but not necessarily worse or better, just different. And so
Yeah,
within different,
we have to
you
be
can pivot.
chameleons.
Yeah.
You got to be a chameleon.
Oh,
That's what in real estate. Real estate is moving, whether it's a down market, an up market, a middle market. There's stuff being transacted. So just be able to kind of take the ebbs and the flows. Don't get pulled into the weeds.
well, I think this is a great place to wrap up because for anyone listening who thinks, gosh, I would like to have a connection maybe down in the Miami area or, somebody that I could possibly refer business to as well in the future, because of course, lots of people retire or move to Florida or buy second, third, plus properties. You obviously deal with people with multiple properties, and you're looking for to build those relationships so that when you do have those opportunities, and by the way, Ivan finds those opportunities on the flip side too, where those people who are buying an $8 million home,
Definitely.
probably not their only home, they probably have other properties. He's going to probably need to refer those people out in case they're moving somewhere where they don't know an agent. So this is a great reciprocal relationship possibly. So even everyone out there, if you're like, well, gosh, I don't know if I'd be of any value, think about it. And if you think you could provide value to Ivan or vice versa, reach out and say, hey, I'd love to be part of your network, and here's why, and here's what I do. That's how relationships get started and founded. So, by the way, too, for anyone out there who's a buyer, seller, investor, renter who is looking to find a property or sell a property in the Miami area, Ivan and Mike are the guys. So ivanandmike.com, they're going to take awesome care of you. I mean, the amount of transactions you guys, or sorry, the production level that you did last year, I was trying to think because I don't have our Chicago numbers pulled up for the entire or the
Sure.
entire area, but I would say that would put you as one of the, if not the top team, maybe one, two, or three out of 47,000 agents. So Ivan and Mike are big producers, and they are very, very good at what they do. So you should consider working with them, whether you're an agent, or whether you're somebody looking to work with a realtor, buy, sell, rent, invest, etc. These guys are the best. So everyone, go out and visit ivanandmike.com. Also follow them on Instagram, which is Miami Luxury Sales. Sorry, no, it isn't. Scratch that. It is
only Miami Luxury.
Sorry about that. Only Miami Luxury on Instagram. By the way, guys, don't have to worry about that. There's a link to it in our show notes. Just click on it, subscribe, and follow them. Ivan, your partner's Mike.
We like Mike too. He's cool. He's all right.
I guess when I expect to talk to an Ivan, and this is like probably something that isn't politically correct, but I expect like a thick, heavy accent from like an Eastern European accent, which you do not have.
Das vidanya.
There we go. Now I'm talking to Ivan. No, Ivan, it was a pleasure. By the way, just out of curiosity, where are you from in Connecticut?
A little town called Madison. It's 20 minutes east of New Haven on the shoreline.
So is that near Old Lyme?
It's very close. It's about 20, 25 minutes from Old Lyme. Old Lyme, you just keep going a little bit further, like 10 more exits off of 95. I've
been to Old Lyme. That's probably the closest I've been. But anyway, All right. On behalf of our audience, guys, we all need to thank Ivan for coming on our show, talking about how he built his business. We're so grateful that he spent an hour with us. So on behalf of everyone, Ivan, we say thanks. And if I called you Mike at any other time during this,
I think just once.
Now thinking
just once
I did do it once. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
My apologies. It's a tough day. But on behalf of Ivan and myself, we want to say thank you to the audience for making it all the way through. Guys, get in touch with Ivan. Reach out to him, see if you can catch his eye. And we're so grateful. We just ask one thing of everyone who listens is just tell one friend about the show, one other realtor that might be struggling right now, that's worried about this year, that's stressed. A lot of agents are. Send them a link to this episode. This is going to turn their day around and hopefully provide them a little bit of kindness and strategy for how to move through the year. So tell a friend, send them over to our website, keepingitrealpod.com. Every episode can be streamed through a browser, or if they're podcast listeners, just pull up, do a search for Keeping It Real, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. All right, Ivan, it was a real pleasure. And next time I'll have Mike on the show because I won't screw up the name.
Perfect. Then you got to call him Ivan.
That's true. That'll maybe he's got a thick accent and then I'll get confused again. Anyway, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much. Buddy. We will see everybody on the next episode.
Awesome.